I've had a great deal of fun over the years in the company of disabled people. In particular, adults with learning disabilities released my inner child. This time last year, Jason, one of our parishioners, got stuck in the lift in the hotel in Lourdes where we were staying. We were waiting for him in the dining room. The lift opened and he tried to manoeuvre his wheelchair out of it. But then the doors closed automatically, so up he went. He appeared a couple of minutes later, but the same thing happened. Our mirth increased, even though you obviously feel a bit guilty when laughing at somebody who has a learning disability. And the whole table stopped eating whilst we keenly anticipated his next appearance. On this occasion, he just managed to nose the wheelchair sufficiently forward to interrupt the electronic beam, and he emerged slightly flustered but triumphant, and we gave him a round of applause, and much to our relief, he joined in our laughter. Then, on another occasion, Jason, his wife Jennifer, and Sarah, all of whom use wheelchairs and all of whom have learning disabilities, and I were sitting on a beach in Bridlington with another parishioner, Moira. Sarah said that she would like to paddle, and I thought, why not? So I wheeled her to where the waves were gently striking the beach. She enjoyed it immensely, and I enjoyed seeing her taking pleasure in such a simple act. And then her motorised wheelchair began to sink, and the more I tried to extract it from the sand, the deeper embedded it became. Ultimately, it took a whole troop of passing sea kayakers to rescue her from the incoming tide. There was great amusement all round. We had had a proper adventure. Jason and Jennifer have become altar servers in our parish. It all started because Jason served for the bishop during one of the pilgrimages to Lourdes. He subsequently asked me on every occasion we met when he could start serving in our churches. Soon, I said non-committally, as to my shame I edged away. I presumed the logical challenges would prove too challenging. Of course they didn't once I applied 5 minutes thought to the issue. Then I hesitated again because I thought the child altar servers might feel pushed out. Of course they don't. They enjoy collaborating with people with learning disabilities and finding out more about how such interaction works. When things go wrong, Jason, like the rest of us, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, can throw a wobbly. Sometimes other members of the congregation can take exception to this. But as able-bodied people, we can find it difficult to understand the depths of the frustration that disabled people can experience. And when disabled people have learning disabilities, it can be hard for them to express their emotions in an acceptable way. Jason once told me that a man had got into the habit of parking his motorbike on the pavement, blocking his passage from his home in sheltered accommodation to the church. Jason remonstrated with him. The man just ignored him. There was no nearby drop curb. What is a man to do when he is subject to such ongoing petty humiliations? As during recent years, disabled people have engaged more and more prominently in the life of the parish, something rather lovely has occurred. They have helped the rest of us to gain a new perspective on life. They help me to slow down. They help me to appreciate the goodness of the present moment. They help me to understand the importance of conversations and relationships. Years ago, when I went on a HCPT pilgrimage to Lourdes, I celebrated Mass in the massive underground basilica. The liturgy was reverent, but it was also free-moving and informal. It had a delightful spontaneity about it. Sometimes people would call out or run around, and all this was encompassed in our great self-offering in Jesus to the Father. At the end of Mass, as people began to disperse, I saw a priest who had unvested and whom I knew, and who was a little apart from everybody else. His eyes were closed, his arms were elevated and outstretched, and he was slowly turning round and round on the spot, a big grin on his face, as he continued to praise God in a way that the presence of so many disabled people around him had made possible. Seeing my brother in that moment made me understand that the presence of disabled people within the church makes of the church a more efficacious sacrament to the world. We are by divine charter inclusive, and in my experience, only the presence of adults with learning difficulties can rescue a parish from becoming lost in its own self-importance and its members from falling into the assumption that the parish is principally for people just like them, from, in other words, seeing the parish as essentially a closed entity, not one which is necessarily and always open to people who are not like ourselves. I was prompted to reflect in this way by the news that the UK Parliament voted a couple of days ago to impose upon Northern Ireland a law which, while limiting the abortion of able babies in the womb to 24 weeks, allows the destruction of babies with a disability to the moment of birth. A lady from one of the abortion providers said that the law did not constitute discrimination against disabled people, but was just designed to help women have more choice. But I thought, if the law had said that boys could not be aborted after 24 weeks of gestation, but the girls could be aborted up to birth, wouldn't she, alongside everybody else, have described that as being discriminatory? It's a pity that the MPs who voted for this atrocious measure don't come to our monthly parish faith and light group. There they would see just how much fun a disabled person can have in engaging in appropriate forms of worship, social activities, crafts, singing, bingo, and lots of eating and drinking. No doubt the MPs consider that the lives of disabled people are of less consequence because those with learning disabilities sometimes find it hard to explain things. Mind you, when you think about it, these same MPs haven't managed to explain to the rest of us how discrimination against disabled babies in the womb isn't actually discrimination. So perhaps they would find that they have more in common with their disabled brothers and sisters than they think.